How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Today I've got some Star Wars Battlefront beta gameplay for you guys, and I wanted to go over my first thoughts of the game since the release of the beta yesterday. I've been playing it quite a lot, so I thought now would be the time that I would give you guys my first impressions of the game and tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and what I think they can do for the future. So in the beta currently there is only two game modes that you can play: the Walker Assault mode, which is the one that you guys can see on screen now, and Drop Zone. I've actually not played much of Drop Zone, but I'm going to put that in a separate video. I just wanted to focus this gameplay on the Walker Assault mode because this is obviously the most popular mode in the beta right now. So far in the beta, from what I've played and from what I've seen, it does actually play really nice. Of course there is quite a few bugs and balancing issues with the game, but it is to be expected because the beta's only been out a day, and at the end of the day it is the beta, so things aren't going to be polished, things aren't going to be perfect. Obviously if it was a final release then there'd be a very big issue here, but since it's beta I'm not really fussed about things like that. So one of the first major complaints that's come out of this game mode is how unbalanced it actually is, and how hard it is to play as a rebel and actually win the game. In its current state, playing as a rebel isn't really very fun. You do get spawn killed quite a lot, and you do lose the game quite often as well, due to the fact that the Imperials have got the extra support, you know, with the power-ups and AT-AT support and things like that. DICE are aware of this, so I'm actually going to be quite interesting to see how they fix it, whether, you know, they nerf the Imperial side or whether they buff the Rebel side. I'm not actually quite sure. But like I said, in its current state, you probably will lose 99% of your games as rebels, due to the fact that it is really difficult to win games due to, like I said, the extra support. Now there is a quick tip that I'm going to put in a separate video on how to easily beat the Imperials, but that is in a separate video, and the only reason you can do it is due to an imbalancing bug. So this kind of sucks because it's not going to stay for very long, but it is a cool little way on how to defeat the Imperials quite easily, so stay tuned for that. So as you guys can see in this game mode, you do get the two heroes, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. A little bug is when they die, they kind of just stay there in their animation pose. I think that's a little bit daft. I'm not quite sure whether this is intentional. I'm hoping it's not, because it is, like I said, a little bit daft that you see Darth Vader just crouching on the floor. You know, you can't damage him, you can't do anything, you can't interact with him or anything like that. They do just stay there. I'm not quite sure whether it's a placeholder since it's beta. I'm not quite sure. I'm hoping it is, but it'd be kind of cool to see what kind of things they can do with those. You know, obviously once the character dies, it'd be nice to see how they escape the fire action instead of just staying on the floor and then despawning, because it is a little bit stupid. So I do hope that they've got something cool planned for that, but that is another thing that I think DICE need to fix. So of course with the current build there are some map glitches. Obviously when you're walking up rocks that you're not supposed to, you do get an instant death, obviously where the death zones are, and running too close to AT-ATs sometimes you get sucked underground and you have to commit suicide because you're stuck under the world. But in terms of how it plays with the jetpacks and running around the map, it is really quite fluent and quite easy to do. In terms of things like that, there is obviously a few hitbox issues when you're crouching behind rocks and things like that. If you're trying to shoot over a rock, there is a few hitbox issues where it's completely off. Another thing as well, when you stood in that cave that I've just been showing in front of you, if you're trying to look out of it, it's really wide. Like, it's impossible to look out of that cave unless you're scoped in on a weapon, because all you can see is white, so it's a real big advantage for the Imperials. So that does kind of give it a little bit of a balancing thing there, but I don't think that's going to be a good mechanic if that's actually going to stay in the game, because if you, like I said, if you're looking at, it's just impossible to see anything except just the glare of white on your screen. A bit like the lens flare in Battlefield 3, if that compares anything to it, but that's the type of thing that you're dealing with there. So in terms of the guns themselves, I actually think they're all quite nice. I've been cycling through quite a lot of the guns, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and obviously everyone does have the favourite guns that they are using right now. I think for the Rebels it's the LMG, and for the Imperials, quite a lot of Imperial people use the Seisler rifle, as well as any primary weapon. The Seisler rifle, of course, does one hit headshot kills, 90 damage to the body, I believe, and is on a cooldown of 6 seconds. So it is kind of OP at the moment. They do need to do something with that, maybe increase the cooldown time, but that is the go-to weapon that quite a lot of Imperials seem to use at the moment. So hopefully they do change something with that. But overall, I think it is quite balanced. Like I said, just a few weapons like the LMG and that weapon that need to be looked at in my opinion. But overall, they are quite good. In terms of the HUD design, the HUD isn't actually that bad. I think there is a few scaling issues that they need to fix, such as your health and the cards in the bottom right. I don't think that they're not very appealing to me. I'm not really a fan of the cards being so big and bold in the bottom right, especially since you can only use 3 of them. It's not like you're going to forget where you've put them. You don't really need a big massive card to be shown, you know, to know where you've got your different your 3 item slots. So I'm hoping that you can either customize the scaling on that, or you can customize it in a different way in terms of how it actually looks, because it's a little bit big and bulky and I'm not really a massive fan of it at the current state. But overall the HUD is quite nice. The radar in the bottom right, I've actually not used the radar quite a lot since there's no spotting in the game. I don't really use the radar, I don't really see a point of it. I just run around and gun, and then obviously if I see someone in the distance I scope in with a Sisler rifle and kill them nonetheless. But the radar, obviously it's there for what it is, but I've used it less I think than any other game that has a radar, so that's actually quite interesting. If they implemented something like spotting or you know, anything like that, it might make it a little bit more entertaining. But the only time when I do mainly use the radar is when I'm in a flying vehicle, because obviously I want to see where the any other flying vehicles are, whether they're above, below. But in terms of people, you know, it's not something that I've actually really used very much, so that's that. In regards to flying vehicles on the map for both Rebels and the Imperials, I've not actually used them very much because I'm not a massive fan of them altogether. I prefer the Imperials compared to the Rebels. I don't know whether that is just personal preference or whether they're actually designed better, but in terms of what they are, some of them feel quite clunky and quite hard to control, turn and things like that, and obviously with the other ones that are currently in the game, in terms of agility, it's actually a little bit unbalanced in my opinion, so I think that they also need to get looked at as well. But overall I've not really used them very much, so you guys will have to take that with a pinch of salt. But I don't, like I said, I don't use them for that reason. I'm just not a massive fan. I prefer down on the floor combat. Now one thing to note though is that there is a dedicated game mode to flying battles, not space battles, flying battles. Of course everyone knows about the space battles, but that is confirmed as going to be a game mode, because it is in the multiplayer options, but it just says that you can't play it because it's a beta. So at least you guys who do like flying battles, you guys will have that, but for me personally, I'm not a massive fan, like I said, unless I'm playing as an Imperial. So one thing that I have been told is that you should play the game in third person and actually not aim down the sight. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of this. I understand why people say it. Obviously, if you're playing third person, you've got a better depth perception. Your field of view is obviously increased, and it is a little bit more easier to play. And obviously, there's no point aiming down the sight or crouching, because it gives no advantage in terms of aiming at any distance. That has been confirmed by the devs. So if you are shooting at someone at close range, if you know where your cursor is exactly, then don't bother scoping in, because it's not going to make your accuracy any better whatsoever. I think there actually is a little bit of bullet drop. I could be wrong. At long distance I have seen the bullets drop, especially with the Sisler rifle and things like that, but overall your accuracy is practically 100%, like I said. Not scoped in, not crouched. A lot of people tend to play third person and then basically just move about as they're firing. For me that just feels horrible. I don't know whether that's coming from my Counter-Strike days or what, but it's not something that I'm actually a massive fan of. But it is personal preference at the end of the day. But like I said, if you are doing it because you think you're going to gain some sort of accuracy, then you're not, so there's no real point in doing it. So another thing is that spawning is off currently in the game. I have spawned behind enemy lines, and likewise enemies have spawned behind me. Spawn camping is also a little bit of an issue. Sometimes you can spawn and then just get absolutely wrecked by the AT-ATs. If you are in that area, especially if they're pushed up quite a lot into the final area. People have got hundreds and hundreds of kills just spawn camping the AT-ATs and being able to kill people as soon as they're spawning. So there is obviously some imbalancing issues. There's no spawn protection. I don't believe. If it is, it's very minimal. So like I said, spawning will need to be fixed, but they are aware of spawning issues, so hopefully that will be fixed either in the beta or that will be fixed before full release. So if I was to give my final thoughts of the game in its current state, it is going to be a good game when it's released. It's a shame that there isn't going to be some sort of campaign with the game. There is extra missions that you guys can do in like Horde mode and things like that, an equivalent, but it is a shame that there's not going to be a campaign to the game, because it would be really, really fantastic. In terms of graphics wise, it is actually really, really nice. I'm getting 100 frames here on a Nvidia 660 running a 4790K at 4 GHz, so it is a really, really nice game to run on any machine. Of course, if your machine is worse, it is going to be a little bit harder for you, but hopefully in terms of optimization there's not much that they're actually going to need to do, so that is something that is really, really nice. Of course, there is some features that I'd like them to add, such as spotting and things like that. A little bit more of a use of the minimap would be nice, because like I said, I don't really use it very much because it's kind of worthless unless you're in some sort of flying vehicle. So that is kind of what I'm hoping from the game. It'd probably be a long time before I do buy a game like this, like I said, even though this is my first Star Wars game, but nonetheless it is going to be a good game once everything has been ironed out in the end. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of the current beta, and if you guys think it lives up to its name of what a Star Wars game it should be compared to the old Star Wars Battlefront 2 game. Is it good? Is it worse? Only time will tell. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.